Good morning. Cheers. I love coffee. I really do. So, lately, several people have gotten in touch with me to tell me that they watch my videos now and whatnot, which is kind of cool. But, they're telling me that, dude, you look like you gained a bit of weight. And, well, I did. So, however, over the last week, I've lost 10 pounds. So, it's difficult to do being a type 1 diabetic on insulin. I think back of how long has man supposedly been out of the jungle, which is supposedly 10,000 years, depending on what books you read, right? So, and in that time, and even of today's age, you look at other countries where people aren't obese, they're not overweight. What's missing in their diet? How often do they eat? That sort of stuff. So, whereas forever being a type 1 diabetic, it has been 3 meals a day with 3 snacks in between. However, as you age, your metabolism changes over time, as well as with your activity level. If you're a diabetic, you know this. You have to change your insulin dosages basically quarterly, where you have to fast and do your blood work and all of this kind of stuff in order for your doctor to change your dosages, unless you know how to do that yourself, which I don't advise anyone if they don't have any experience doing that. I don't advise you to do that. But anyway, right now I've been fasting. So, and if you look at, a lot of people say to eat one meal by 5 p.m. So that way you're fasting from 5 p.m. Nothing else to eat after 5 p.m. So that way then you're fasting till breakfast, which break fast. Breakfast. Break the fast. So it takes a little bit of getting used to constantly measure your glucose and whatnot. At least that's what I've found. And I don't advise this for anyone. This is just me practicing on my 6-foot rat, basically. But I have lost 10 pounds in the last week with excellent glucose levels. So, to each their own. Meanwhile, if my glucose were to fall below like 70 or 65 milligrams a deciliter, yes, I would have to then eat a little carbohydrates in order to pick that up. However, I changed it up a bit this time. So I have found that in my 6-foot rat that I have to shock my metabolism in order to do such a thing. I can't just I have to wing myself off of 3 meals a day, which lately I've only been eating 2 and snacking in between. Which I also had the roller coasters of high glucose, low glucose, high glucose, low glucose, which has thrown me for a loop and has caused me to gain a bit of weight. So, yeah. I am aware of it, I know how to do it, and I'm doing it. But, like I said, this time, I'm changing it up a bit. So instead of after 5 p.m., no more meals, I'm changing that till 12 p.m., noon. Because, and I'm only eating one meal a day at the moment. Now, I eat a decent amount. I live to eat. I love food. I really do. However, I look at my family history, my genes, right, of obesity and so many other different health things, from heart attack, stroke, heart disease, cancer, you name it. I inherited quite a bit. Diabetes. So I got to looking at that a bit more, and so now I've chosen to do it at noon, because at noon, instead of 5 p.m., I have so much more time to go, even during REM sleep, and in through the next day. Now, yes, I drink my coffee as breakfast, but I don't use sugar, and I only use half and half, because I don't like what Coffee Mate does to my glucose. It says 0 carbohydrates. My doctor has even told me that I'm not the only one to recognize that Coffee Mate throws my blood sugar for a loop. I refuse. I refuse to use that, so I use half and half in my coffee. So, cheers. So, at noon, I have to go all evening, which I may have a beer or two in a hot tub. I might. 2 beers, and that's about it. I don't like to do any more. It's kind of like being out on a boat in the middle of the water. The heat from the sun intensifies your buzz. So I don't like any more than 2 Miller Lights in the hot tub. That's it for me. Any more than that, and I just, I feel that that's my limit. So anyway, I might do that. But I have to go all night the next morning until the next noon, until my next meal. Now, I do eat a bit, but I don't gorge myself. I give myself a certain amount of time to eat. And that doesn't mean that I just sit there and eat like I haven't eaten in a week. That will make you sick. Which is why if you look at, say, an animal like a dog, a stray dog, you go to feed that dog and you keep feeding that dog because it hasn't eaten in forever, it will vomit everything it just ate. So you have to use caution when doing anything like this. Now, I'm not starving myself. Get that out your head. So, and I'm not limiting the amount of carbohydrates that I eat. And I do eat protein on top of it. So, now, I have also noticed that, I do get cravings. And at that time, I might take out some nuts, like pistachios. That's my favorite. So, I might eat a few. But again, I limit myself. I don't try to become distracted with anything else to where I sit there and eat the whole bag. That's just, so yeah, I've lost 10 pounds in the last week. We'll see where this goes. This is the second most I've ever weighed in my life. The first most I've ever weighed, I got up to a little over 255 pounds. And I'm actually 6'1", even though I refer to this shell as a 6-foot rat, lab rat. At over 255 pounds, that was after 4 years in bed with 38 eye surgeries, 2 of which were implants from diabetic retinopathy and glaucoma, but glaucoma of low pressure. which was a side effect of the Kenalog injection into the back of the eye. Then they came out with Avastin, which I had countless of those. But it was a reaction that happened, which caused me to go into the operating room and install a valve into each eye to relieve the excess pressure. Pressures were either 3 or not measurable for years, and which then caused the retinas to fold and caused me to go blind. So yes, it was the diabetic retinopathy, where each surgery I had over 900 lasers per eye every other day. And that happened several times to each eye, where they fused all the blood vessels all the way around the eye in the retina. Because with high glucose, your eyes are in search of more oxygen. However, with high glucose, your blood is more like syrup. Other organs can't breathe. So diabetes is linked to everything. And basically your eyes go in search of more oxygen, so they grow new blood vessels through the vitreous gel. And then they pull at that vitreous gel until it detaches. And then it's lights out. So that's where I'm at. So left eye is only light or dark. That's it. The right eye is 20 over 200, which is legally blind. However, my field of view is so narrow out of my right eye. So I only have a little spot, and it's only right in front of me. After all the laser surgeries and whatnot, I have no night vision. I have no peripheral vision at all. So I have no depth perception. Lost all of that. And, we were actually even discussing removing the eyes. Because of such low pressure, the eyes were actually imploding. To remove the eyes and go to glass eyes. So pitch black darkness. However, your mind makes you envision different things. It's difficult to describe, but you have to visualize everything in your mind. It's a lot of memorization. So even navigation with cane travel and whatnot. So to make different landmarks, the scent of rosemary, the scent of chlorine, the sound of the flagpole, the little metal thing hitting it. We have to pay more attention to these other things than what normal people do. And it is true, when you lose one sense, others heighten. And, like they say, you don't know what you have until it's gone. And then you have to not improvise, but you have to adapt and overcome. And it's very difficult. A lot of things need to be done there as far as mental health and that sort of stuff, because it is very difficult, and I had to work through this on my own. And in that time of working through everything on my own, I laying in bed for years, bed sores, everything, having to sleep sitting straight up, for years because of the eyes. I couldn't allow that amount of pressure to go to the eyes. At that time, I cut all my expenses to nothing. I mean, my television became YouTube. So that was my television, because it was free and I could research different things. So during that time frame, I went into deep and heavy into monetary policy. and to learn how I could invest and what assets I could own. Excuse me. And that were out of the system. And, that, of course, I found gold and silver, which I was a part of years before. But, being disabled, you can't hold more than $2,000 in any asset, even in the checking account. It sets off red flags everywhere. So I was like, okay, well, how do I get around this? How do these different people in power, how do these different wealthy people have family members who are disabled, and how do they invest for them? Because they're heirs to their what they've built, their legacy, if you will. And after digging for so long, it's, I found it's through a trust and an EIN number to then bypass your social security number. So then, let's say you have a child who's disabled and you wish to leave them an inheritance. That's how you do it. Through a trust. I formed a supplemental needs trust in order to do such a thing. And, if you're an adult who is disabled and you're looking to invest, whether that's in stocks, mutual funds, bonds, cryptocurrency, whatever, even gold and silver, a little midnight gardening. So you through the trust, you use the EIN number and not your social security number. That's how it does not affect your social security, disability, or your Medicare for your doctors. Because for most of us who are disabled, we couldn't even have a job. Can't even go out, cannot even better ourselves to go out and get a job just to try to save an extra dollar or two. For me, it was, I spent so many years in bed, and during that time, realizing, that I didn't save like I should have. I mean, I was stupid. I was a debt slave. Corvette, Harley, boat, camper, truck, another little car to where if I got dirty at work, I was a grease monkey, basically. I was an automotive technician. So if I was filthy and knew I was going to be filthy, I would drive that car, not the Corvette. So different things like that. And everything was on credit. Even my student loans, which if you're disabled, know that you can go to your lender, like say Sally Mae or whatnot, and those loans can be forgiven due to a permanent disability, like blindness. So yes, my student loans that I took out were for other reasons, like for housing and whatnot, even though I got a scholarship to where as long as I maintained above a 3.5 GPA, my tuition was paid in full. I had to pay for my books and all of that kind of fees and all, so that was on me, but that's how I ended up with my degree in automotive technology and Phi Theta Kappa National Honor Society, so cumulative of 3.89. But my thing was I couldn't figure out what I wanted to do. But now at this point, being disabled, it's like, what can I do? And I couldn't find anything on being disabled and investing and how to get ahead. Like I was listening to Dave Ramsey one time, and a few disabled people got involved, and even Dave Ramsey All these others that I've heard and listened to, they basically, keep their thumb on top of us, to where they say you can't do anything being disabled, and that's false. I've done it. I was able to get a job. It was only part-time, but it was all I could get. Being disabled, you're then a liability for any company to take on because of workman's comp and all these other issues. Everyone's afraid of, and even though, you hear blind and everyone immediately thinks pitch black. That's not always the case. In my case, I saw silhouettes. So I was not in pitch black darkness. I needed high-powered magnification, and I needed lighting and different things like that. And the state would only pay for different things if you already had the job. They will not pay for any sort of learning, so they won't pay for you to go back to school. They won't pay for these different tools that are available for the blind unless you already have that job. So they don't offer anything in that sense. No magnification, no anything like that. And a lot of these things I would like to fix one day through crypto, through my trust, albeit a 501c3, and a few different ideas I have to do. I would like to fix a few things in the disability system. Mainly the onset of disability, the 6-month wait. Even though you get your award letter from Social Security, you've been approved. You got to go 6 months with zero income. 6 months with nothing, even though you've been approved. And most people now know what it's like to go 2 months, with no income because of COVID, right? When everything got shut down. Everyone knows what it's like to go 2 months. Well, imagine that there is no stimulus. Imagine that there is no help at all. No stimulus checks, none of this. No EIDL grants, loans, whatever, and none of that. No help. And then it's like, what do? You just lay there, and a lot goes through your mind. It's like realizing how much money you blew on stupid stuff, right? Just stupid stuff. And then suddenly you find out who your friends really are. And I would also like to say, be careful of those around you who claim that they are your friends. Watch them even closer. Because they steal. They steal from you. So, careful of those who are close to you. Watch everything to the best that you can. So, but yeah, during that 6-month time, I had to ration food. See, there was a big disconnect. I've never had to do food stamps and all that other stuff. I thought that anything like that could hinder my chances of approval with disability. There's no handbook written for any of this, and there needs to be. So, that's another idea as far as the 501c3 and possibly different LLCs that I can do under the umbrella of the trust to help others, other families even, to learn about the process of disability and how to navigate different things. But if I can step in with a smart contract of crypto to fund these different things for different people, as a client, if you will, That's what I would like to do. So for my trust to be able to fund these different things, because after digging and diving into metals and monetary policy and whatnot, I found that, I found crypto. I went to a camp for the blind in 2013. And it was a live-in camp. I had to stay there for a few months. And it was University of New Orleans TRAC, TRAC. It's where I learned to use a computer without a mouse or a monitor through assistive technology, like JAWS from Freedom Scientific. And other things like Braille. I'm on level 2 Braille where I'm doing contractions. So, I'm on the short bus because of, the sensitivity in my fingertips from diabetic neuropathy. I guess either that or working on so many different hot engines, I've lost sensitivity in my hands as far as to read Braille. So yeah, I have to read like double-sized Braille. So it's difficult. And then, even asking for menus and stuff in Braille at a restaurant, they hand you a book that thick. It's like 3 inches thick. And it's like, what's a number 1? What's a number 3? And, a lot of times it's embarrassing at a restaurant, like on a date even. That bothers me still. But yet, I've been known to just get up and walk out of the restaurant when, like, the little girl or whatever comes over, or the soy boy who comes out and tries to, ask a question, and instead of asking me directly, you're going to lean over to my date and you're going to ask, and what would he like with this? Really? That pisses me off. I just get up and walk out. I'll take my money elsewhere. Stuff like that just irritates me. However, all the other stuff, as far as the and it takes a little while to get over all of the different adjustments, like the anger phase, right? That took me about 2 years to get over. When people tell you stuff like, I'll see you later, or see you soon, or, stuff like that, that used to upset me. And I know that does other blind people too. But now it's just, I understand it's just part of our culture. It's they don't mean anything by that. So it takes a little while to get over. It's a difficult pill to swallow. And I don't know how or why I got to this point. Exactly. But, for me, after finding metals, I found metals years before this, but, it was 2013, I went to a camp for the blind, and then I found cryptocurrency in 2014. And in that time frame, I remember buying Bitcoin between $250 up to $400, and then it was like 2016, then it went to like $600, and then $1,200. And at like the beginning of January 2017, it was like $1,200 or something like this. And, I had amassed a bunch of credit at that time. And so the money that I put in at $200 in the Bitcoin, and then it was now worth $1,200. I sold quite a bit, and I paid off all the credit cards. And then now I question, it's like, well, what did that really cost me? What did that nonsense of credit really cost me? at $1,200 a Bitcoin when I was buying Bitcoin at 200. I remember that. I'll never forget it. Because now we've seen Bitcoin, first run up, no one ever thought it would go to 20,000. And this run up, it went to over 70,000 per Bitcoin. And I was paying $200 a pop. That's like with Ethereum. I remember listening to Crypt Zero on YouTube. He just came out. He was in Miami and in his car and listening. And I was also listening to JSNIP4 and people like this, Bix Weir, and then into the metals community, So there were many that I listened to and followed. Which is why I still laugh at, people like these different gold people. I just don't understand the disconnect, because back then, an ounce of gold for me was $1,300. I remember paying $1,300 for an ounce. And at that same time, I could get 6.5 Bitcoin that month of that $1,300 to invest. So, and look at where that 6.5 Bitcoin is today versus that 1,300 ounce of gold. Alexa, what's the current price of gold?
As of March 10th, 2022, gold traded at $1,990 per troy ounce on the foreign exchange, up 0.02% since previous close.
So right now gold's at $2,000 an ounce without a premium, right? Without the premium on top. And I don't know what the current price of Bitcoin is. But, just say it's 50,000, right? So, Alexa, 50,000 times 6.5.
50,000 times 6.5 is 325,000.
325,000 versus 2,000. So, Peter Schiff, riddle me this. Now what? So, a lot of these different people come out and use scare tactics all the time. That now the government is cracking down on crypto and everyone running for the hills. And of course, the weak-minded or whatnot, they're going to sell everything that they have in crypto and run and follow the leader. It's like common sense is uncommon sense now. So if you look at it at a Jim Rogers approach of metals, where you look for an undervalued asset, you buy that undervalued asset and you just hold on to it. That's all he does. Holds on to that undervalued asset and then buys and then sells it when it's in a bull market. That's all he does. And then finds another undervalued asset. So that's all I do in crypto. I don't play with money I need next month. I don't play with money I need even for next year. And I don't agree with the verbiage of playing with money that you can afford to lose. I don't see it that way at all. I dollar cost average, and I just hold it. And I've done extremely well. I'm retired now with a trust, with the ambition to do other things with a 501c3 and LLCs. Now I know how to do those things. And if you are disabled and you're wanting to learn how to go about getting a trust, just know a supplemental needs trust with an EIN costs me about $4,000. You can go anywhere, whichever state that you're in the United States, and you can go to any estate attorney for guidance. It's a free consultation. And you be forward with them and explain to them what it is you wish to do, whether it's rental property, whether it's staking or mining cryptocurrency, whether it's forming an LLC, whether it's rental property, whatever it is that you want to do, you can do it through a trust, a supplemental needs trust. also known as a disability trust. So, I take issue with some of these others out here that charge a yearly subscription fee and then want to sell you on this and sell you on this and upsell you on that and this and that. And it'll end up costing you 10 grand when all you needed to do was go to a free consultation with any estate attorney in your state. These things are set up for you. It's just not out here for everyone to know. Basically, it's the laws were passed by these Congress critters for their own families. And this is the tool that I use. This is the only tool, the only way that I have found to be able to do what I have achieved. So, anyway, I kind of got off the point of losing 10 pounds, but I guess it needed to be said, So look, I guess I'll do another video because I have other show and tell items out here, and it just went a total different way than what I envisioned, and I've got to use the restroom. So anyway, y'all be cool. Go make it a day.
Yeah.